The Aylsworth Drakkant. This is a razor that is fairly new to the market. This is one that I've been working through the different base plates, and today we're finishing up the last of the 3 available stainless steel base plates. We're talking about the Drakkant Plus plate today. Now, before I take you through a shave and share my impressions on this razor with you, let me just welcome you back to the channel. My name is John, aka Latherhog, and here we talk about all things related to wet shaving. If razors, shaving brushes, shaving soaps, and that sort of thing is your bag, then you've come to the right place. So I've gotten a handful of shaves with the Plus plate under my belt, just so this is not a first impressions video. We can dive in a little bit deeper, let you hear the feedback of the razor, and do my best to compare this to other razors you might have experienced. But before we get to the shave itself, let me show you what else I'm working with. First up, for the shaving brush, we have this beauty right here from Chisel and Hound. This one, just a classic color, very comfy shape. This is sporting a Manchurian V9, I believe. Very soft tips, fan shape, Manchurian badger knot. And for the software, we have from Catie's Bubbles X or 10. This is a celebratory soap for 10 years of Catie's Bubbles. I think I mentioned this one in a list video, but didn't actually bring a shave with it, which I thought was just criminal. So we're going to be talking about X today. This one also, I think it's only available directly from Catie's Bubbles in case you guys are looking for it later on after I share some scent notes and impressions of that too. And if you didn't hear it rattling around, this is the very special container, bottle for the Aftershave square bottle. I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a restrictor in this guy. So first time, I got lucky. I didn't dump it into too much of an angle in my hand, but there's no restrictor, so you're gonna wanna use your thumb to help you make sure you just get a little bit and not the whole bottle out on your sink. So with the setup out of the way, let me also show you what I'm working with. I have not shaved in 5 days, so quite a bit of beard growth. I think it's a good test for the Plus plate. So without further delay, let's get into it. All right, so as I lather up here, let me tell you a little bit more information about X. First up, as far as the scent note breakdown, I'm gonna have to just go ahead and throw the notes up on the video because there are too many to list. But what you need to know is that X is comprised of scent notes that have appeared in other Catie's Bubbles releases. So as a celebration for 10 years, Chris pulled and recombined in various quantities notes from other soap scents that he's created in the past. What do I get out of this one from all those notes? I get mostly floral and fruity notes. It's a very balanced sweetness. There's a certain like herby liveliness to it, which really makes me think of this as a very strong, a strongly scented spring scent. And if I were to pinpoint any note in particular that really stands out that I really like, it's rose. And not to say I like every single rose scent out there, because it's a note that I initially did not like and I've come to like as I've gone and explored, various fragrances and shave soaps. I don't tend to like powdery rose, which is a little more on the old school side, and more power to you if you like that kind of rose. I'm thinking something along the lines of like Noble Otter, Two Kings, or even the, if you're a Tobbs fan, that rose scent. That's a very classic, kind of old school type rose. I like something a little bit more modern. I wouldn't necessarily characterize it that way, but when there's those fruity notes, a little sweetness to it, and I would say maybe a little bit of woodiness or possibly some earthiness from the vetiver. It's not a strong vetiver, but it's keeping everything kind of grounded and interconnected. All right, so we got the lather here. This is a bit of a close-up. Definitely more than enough beard hair to kind of poke it through the lather there. And here's, our star of the show for today, the Aylsworth Drakkant Plus plate. The stainless steel version of the razor is in fact back in my possession. This has been around and gone for months now on Pass Around from the Lather Talk Discord. Quick plug for the Discord, come check us out. Pass arounds, giveaways, and in general, great interaction with others in the wet shaving community. And also, because I didn't mention it before, we're using a Gillette Ruby blade here today. So let's go in, and I'm going to do what I did last time. The previous video with the open comb plate, I think was really well received, so I'm gonna try my best to mimic the format of that video. I won't talk for the first like half pass, so you can hear the audio feedback. So let's go. So as you're probably telling, it's not an overly loud razor, which shouldn't be a surprise because the open comb wasn't all that much louder either. I mean, it was louder than this one, but was not a very loud razor. Not that you can't hear anything, but some people like a lot of audio feedback. And I would say that is not a characteristic of the Aylsworth razors, at least currently. So I made sure to look up at least some specs for today, and I want to share that the Plus plate has a blade gap of 0.99 millimeters, and the blade exposure is at 0.125 millimeters. And what you might find interesting is that the blade gap and blade exposure in both the Plus plate and the open comb plate are exactly the same. The main difference is obviously the look and design of the base plate itself, with the open tooth combs versus a solid bar across, which really does change up the experience. And you can just see all the little bits of stubble trapped in the lather. But I am done with the first pass, so let's rinse up and keep on going. All right, so I'm gonna go in for my second pass now in the shave. And again, I'm going to be quiet for the first half of pass so that you can hear the audio feedback, in particular going against and across the grain. So, like I said before, the against the grain pass, across the grain, it gives a little more audio feedback than with the grain, but again, not a loud razor. That's remained constant. One other finding that I had, especially my previous shaves, is going against the grain on the neck. I have to go with a really light touch. First time I had a bunch of weepers. You can see, I think I might have cut like a blemish over here. I was like, something's slightly bleeding there. But I think it's a blemish. If not, it's a small cut. Unrelated, the neck, when I went really hard, like I didn't pay too much attention, it was not a good time. So if you'll remember, and this is where we start comparing stuff, open comb. It is aggressive enough where I probably would skip against the grain for my neck entirely. I'd go across the grain, or I mean on a light beard growth day, 1 with the grain pass or 2 with the grain passes will leave me with a very clean shave. Here, the Plus plate, you can do the against the grain pass. I know for me personally, I just have to lighten up in touch. Now, as for comparisons to other razors, which I think most of you find most helpful, the feel of this razor there's more blade feel than the basic plate, the standard plate, and there's less blade feel than the open comb. And again, the blade gap itself and exposure are exactly the same, but it's all in that open comb versus closed comb design difference. So this one has less blade feel because of that. And as for other razors, the Plus plate feels more aggressive than even the Rockwell on the 6 plate. I mean, in general, that's a fairly mild razor. I would say this is about probably one to two notches above what the R6 feels like, and definitely has more efficiency. That is locked in. Another one I often compare to is the Carve Christopher Bradley, and this one, the feel of it is probably a D or E plate. So again, we're not going crazy with blade feel. If you do have questions about, about the efficiency or other metrics I don't hit, of course, leave it in the comments below. Other viewers might be able to help you, or with further research, I might be able to come back and answer your question in the comments. All right, so a very nice 2-pass shave today. Given what I experienced with my neck and going too much with this razor, I'm gonna leave it at 2 passes and skip the cleanup because I think it's clean enough. So let me grab the aftershave. And again, as a reminder to myself as well as to you guys out there, there's no restrictor, so gotta use the thumb, place it over and just release a little bit. It's a very nice bottle. It's a little tricky to dispense, especially on camera. So a little bit spilled out. Luckily, just means my arm will smell good now. Also, I took a closer look at the little nick I got here. It wasn't a blemish. I just nicked myself. And it happens. Again, I might edit things down just to save us time and to be efficient, but I'm never trying to misrepresent my shaving abilities. I do nick myself, especially if I'm chatting it up, I'm gonna nick myself. Or if I go too fast, I might nick myself. It happens, it's okay. But to close my thoughts on the scent of X from Catie's Bubbles, again, I'm not normally a rose guy, but I really like this one. It was one of my favorite releases of 2022. It was one of my last purchases, I forget, like November or December of 2022 as well, but Chris just has a great nose in general. I feel like he could always use more love here on YouTube or social media. He's a little underrepresented, and it's just been around 10 years and deserves 10 more or however long he wants to do it. So excellent job here. Again, if you're kind of curious about rose and might not like that classical powdery rose, try this one. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. And now for some additional thoughts on the Plus plate. Guys, you might be wondering, so I have the standard plate, the Plus plate, and the open comb. Do I have a favorite amongst the three? No, I think I'm going to be keeping, as of right now, I'm going to be keeping all 3 plates, and I'll tell you why. First, for the standard plate, that is one that I can just go on autopilot. And I've compared the standard base plate to the Carve Overlander as far as low blade feel and moderate efficiency. So that one, I'm not gonna nick myself with. I can just get the job done, especially if it's light beard growth. I would probably just reach for that one. The Plus plate, just as far as enjoying my shave, enjoying the experience, or maybe I have multiple days of beard growth. Again, this was 5 for me today, and it did, with 2 passes, no problem. Another razor I did think of while I was kind of rinsing up and whatnot is the RazorRock Game Changer 0.84. And that's one where I think the Plus plate is going to replace, because the Game Changer 0.84 has more efficiency than your standard mild razors, but not a whole lot more. And with more efficiency, it has both more efficiency and more blade feel. But that one as well, I have to be really careful on my neck. I think the Plus plate does that whole same thing, but much more smoothly. I'm less likely to nick myself. I still clearly can, but I'm less likely to nick myself. And the Game Changer 0.84 has been in my collection a long time. I'm gonna say it here. The plus plate is kind of giving it a run for its money. I don't like redundancies in my razor collection, in my shave den. So in the coming months, as I use this one a little bit more, I may seriously consider letting go the Game Changer 0.84. And lastly, for the open comb plate, that is just a super unique open comb experience. It is not nearly as much blade feel as most open combs, yet it somehow retains that higher amount of efficiency. And to go back again to the whole redundancy thing, there's nothing else in my shave den that feels like the open comb. I have that Yaki melon head, which is like a double open comb. That one now is going to be challenged because that one can be almost a little too aggressive for me at times, especially using it fairly recently. So yeah, so I guess both the plus plate and the open comb plate are directly challenging two razors I currently have in the den, and I think that's a very strong showing. Especially, it's early on. I've had the plates for a month and a half, but I think it's a good sign of it sticking around in my collection. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the Drakkant plus plate. I've done videos on the other Drakkant offerings, the Copperkant, other safety razors, so be sure to check out. I'll have a link for another razor review and a playlist of razor reviews for you at the end of the video, so please be sure to check that out if you enjoyed this video. Also, if you did enjoy the shave today, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Check out my other socials. I'm Latherhog over on Instagram and Facebook. I'm Lather Talk over on TikTok if you do peruse TikTok. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by today, for joining me for this shave. I really do hope you found it useful, and I hope to catch you next time. Take care.